Hey, here is the divorce paper. I can't stay with a poor, useless, pregnant woman. I have my beautiful mistress here.
Grace stood frozen in the doorway of her father's funeral reception, watching her husband Marcus kiss another woman in the garden. 6 months pregnant and grieving, she'd just buried the only parent she'd ever known. Now this. What would you do if you caught your husband cheating at your father's funeral? Hit like if betrayal cuts deep, and comment where you're watching from. Marcus was 38, a mid-level manager at an insurance company in Nairobi. Grace was 32, a high school teacher who'd put her master's degree on hold when she got pregnant. They'd been married 4 years, and she'd thought they were happy. The woman was Sonia, 26, Marcus's new assistant who'd started 3 months ago. Grace's father Daniel had been a quiet man, a businessman who traveled often but lived modestly in their Nairobi suburb. He'd raised Grace alone after her mother died when she was 6. They weren't rich, just comfortable. His funeral had been simple, attended by a few old friends whose faces Grace didn't recognize and business associates who seemed more interested in their phones. Now Marcus was whispering to Sonia like Grace didn't exist, like her father wasn't barely cold in the ground. Grace stepped into the garden. Marcus. Her voice cut through their intimacy like a blade. He jumped back, but Sonia smiled, a cat who'd already won. Marcus's face showed no guilt, only annoyance at being interrupted. "We need to talk," he said flatly, as if Grace had inconvenienced him. "Not here. Not now." But Grace knew that tone. She'd heard it before when he was done with something, when he'd made a decision. As she turned back to the house, Marcus's phone rang. A lawyer's name flashed on the screen before he quickly silenced it. Grace's grief suddenly mixed with a cold premonition that everything was about to change. 3 days after the funeral, Grace sat in her father's lawyer's office, still numb with grief. Mr. Omondi was an older Kenyan man with kind eyes who'd known her father for 30 years. "Grace, what I'm about to tell you will be shocking. Your father wasn't just a businessman. He was one of East Africa's wealthiest men, worth over $5 billion. Grace laughed, thinking it was a mistake. "My father? We lived in a 3-bedroom house. He drove a 10-year-old Toyota. You have the wrong Daniel Mwangi." But Mr. Omondi opened a file that made her blood run cold. Property deeds across Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa. Offshore accounts. Investment portfolios. Her father had hidden everything. He wanted you to have a normal childhood, to know the value of money, to marry for love not wealth. He planned to tell you on your 35th birthday, but the heart attack came too soon. Mr. Omondi slid documents across his desk. "Everything is yours. The houses, the businesses, the accounts. You're now one of the richest women in Kenya." Grace's hands shook as she looked at numbers that didn't seem real. 5 billion. Her father had been a trillionaire in Kenyan shillings, a billionaire in dollars, and she'd never known. She'd worked as a teacher making modest pay while sitting on generational wealth. Then she thought of Marcus, his strange behavior, that phone call from a lawyer. "Has anyone else contacted you about my father's estate?" she asked carefully. Mr. Omondi's face darkened. "Your husband's attorney called yesterday, asking about the will." "How did he know to call?" "The will hasn't been made public yet." Grace felt ice in her stomach. Marcus knew. Somehow, he knew about the money before she did, and now everything made horrible sense. Grace returned home to find Marcus packing his clothes. No explanation, no apology, just cold efficiency as he loaded suitcases into his car. "What are you doing?" she asked, though she already knew. He didn't even look at her. "I'm leaving. I've filed for divorce. You'll get the papers tomorrow. I'm moving in with Sonia. I'm 6 months pregnant with your child," Grace said, her voice breaking. "You're leaving now? Days after my father died?" Marcus finally turned, and the contempt in his eyes was worse than a slap. "That baby is your problem. I never wanted kids. I only stayed because I thought your father might leave you something worthwhile." The confession hung in the air like poison. He'd married her for money he thought she'd inherit, and now that he believed Daniel had left nothing, he was done. "You're a teacher married to a manager. We're going nowhere. Sonia's father owns a construction company. She can actually help my career. You're just dead weight." Grace stood silent as he finished packing, her hand on her pregnant belly, feeling her daughter kick. She said nothing about the 5 billion, about the empire she'd just inherited, about the fact that she could buy and sell Sonia's father's company 100 times over. She just watched her husband walk out, choosing a mistress over his wife and unborn child. After his car disappeared down the street, Grace called Mr. Omandi. "I want the estate kept absolutely secret for now. No one can know. Can we do that?" The lawyer understood immediately. "Yes. We'll set up shell companies, trustees, keep everything buried in legal structures. To the world, you're just a widowed teacher. But Grace, why hide it?" The divorce papers arrived by courier the next morning. Marcus wanted the house, half of Grace's teacher salary pension, and specifically stated he wanted no custody or financial responsibility for the unborn child. He was washing his hands of fatherhood completely, and the cruelty of it made Grace's grief turn to something harder and colder. She signed everything without a lawyer, giving him exactly what he wanted. The house was rented anyway, worth nothing compared to what she now owned. Her pension was modest. She let him have it all, playing the role of the defeated wife perfectly. Marcus's lawyer probably thought she was stupid or too heartbroken to fight. Good. Let them think that. Within a week, Marcus had moved in with Sonia publicly. They posted photos on social media, going to expensive restaurants that Grace knew Marcus couldn't actually afford. He'd gotten a loan, she realized, probably expecting Sonia's family money to help him pay it back. They looked happy, triumphant, like they'd won some great prize by discarding Grace. Grace moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in a modest neighborhood, visibly pregnant and alone. She wore her teacher clothes, drove her old car, and let everyone in their social circle see her as the abandoned wife. Friends pitied her. Marcus's family sent apologetic messages saying they were ashamed of him but couldn't change his mind. The narrative was perfect, but at night, in her small apartment, Grace met with Mr. Omandi and financial advisors. They showed her the empire her father had built: hotels in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam, shopping centers in Kampala, real estate developments in Johannesburg. She owned apartment buildings where Marcus's friends rented. She owned the mall where he'd bought Sonia's engagement ring, and he had no idea. 2 months later, Grace gave birth to a baby girl she named Faith. Alone in the hospital with only her sister Maya at her side, she held her daughter and felt something crystallize inside her. This child would grow up knowing her worth, would inherit an empire, would never beg a man for scraps. Marcus sent no message, no flowers, no acknowledgement that he'd become a father. Sonia and Marcus married in a lavish wedding 1 month after the divorce was finalized. Grace saw the photos online. Sonia in an expensive dress, Marcus in a designer suit, both grinning like they'd stolen something precious. The wedding was at a luxury hotel in Karen, Nairobi's wealthiest suburb. Grace recognized the hotel. She owned it. They'd gotten married in her property without knowing it. The guest list was full of Marcus's colleagues and Sonia's family showing off their wealth. There were speeches about true love and new beginnings. Sonia's father gave a toast about welcoming Marcus into the family business, offering him a junior partnership. Marcus beamed, finally getting the financial security he'd married Grace hoping to find. He thought he'd traded up. Grace watched the wedding photos with Faith sleeping in her arms and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. She'd instructed the hotel to give them the friends and family discount without explaining why. Let them think they'd gotten a deal through connections. Let them feel clever. She was playing a long game now, and they didn't even know there were pieces on her board. That evening, Mr. Omandi called with news. "One of your father's companies is buying out Sonia's father's construction business. It's struggling financially, over-leveraged. We can acquire it for 40% of its peak value. What do you want to do?" Grace smiled, looking at her sleeping daughter. "Buy it. All of it. But keep my ownership completely anonymous." If you're hooked on Grace's revenge, hit subscribe. What should she do next? Comment below. 6 months after Faith's birth, Grace returned to teaching with her daughter in daycare. She drove her modest car, wore simple clothes, and lived in her small apartment. To everyone who knew her, she was the abandoned single mother struggling to make ends meet. Marcus's friends pitied her when they saw her at the supermarket. Some even offered her money, which she politely declined. Meanwhile, Sonia's father's construction company was quietly absorbed by a holding company called Mwangi Enterprises. The family didn't know who owned it, just that they'd been saved from bankruptcy by mysterious investors who now controlled 70% of the business. Sonia's father stayed on as a figurehead manager, grateful to keep his title and salary. Marcus had been promoted to junior partner as promised, given a company car and expense account. He and Sonia moved into a luxury apartment in Westlands, posted photos of their glamorous life constantly. They traveled to Zanzibar, Mauritius, the Seychelles. Grace watched it all online, knowing every trip was funded by debt and Sonia's family money that was now technically her money. One evening, Maya visited Grace's apartment with concern. "Sister, I know you're proud, but you're struggling. Let me help you. Let me buy Faith some new clothes at least." Grace hugged her sister, maintaining the illusion perfectly. "I'm okay. Teaching pays enough. We have what we need." But in her locked drawer was a tablet showing her real accounts. Billions sitting in investments, growing daily. Then Grace got a call from Sonia's father's company. They needed a teacher to provide English lessons to their executive team. The pay was generous, and Grace accepted, knowing exactly what she was doing. Now she'd be teaching in the building she owned, to employees she technically employed, while Marcus worked downstairs. The irony was delicious. Grace's first day teaching at the construction company was surreal. She walked through lobbies she owned, rode elevators her companies maintained, and smiled at security guards on her payroll, none of them knowing who she really was. The executives were polite, treating her like the humble teacher she appeared to be, offering her tea and asking about her daughter with pity in their eyes. Marcus saw her in the hallway during her second week. His face registered shock, then annoyance, then disgust. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. Grace kept her voice neutral. "Teaching English to the executive team. I needed the extra income for Faith." Using their daughter's name was deliberate, a reminder of what he'd abandoned. His jaw tightened with irritation. "You're pathetic, following me to my workplace, trying to guilt me. I don't owe you anything." Other employees were watching now, and Marcus lowered his voice. "Stay away from me and Sonia. We've moved on. You should too." Grace nodded meekly and walked away, letting him think he'd won that confrontation. But she'd planted the seed she needed to plant. Over the next month, Grace became a fixture at the company. She befriended the secretary, learned office gossip, observed everything. She saw Marcus cutting corners on projects, inflating expense reports, using company resources for personal business. She documented it all quietly, never saying a word. She also saw how Sonia's father was being slowly pushed out of decisions by the new management team. Then came the quarterly financial review. The holding company that owned the construction business announced restructuring. Sonia's father would remain in title only. All real authority would transfer to the new ownership's management team. Marcus, as junior partner, suddenly found his position precarious. His expense account was audited, his projects reviewed. For the first time, Grace saw fear in his eyes. Marcus's spending came under scrutiny when the audit revealed he'd been charging personal expenses to the company. The luxury trips with Sonia, the designer clothes, the expensive dinners, all billed as client entertainment without proper documentation. The new management team called him in for questioning. He emerged pale and shaken, his confidence evaporating. Sonia panicked when she learned the company was being restructured. Her father had already borrowed against his stake to maintain their lifestyle, loans that would come due regardless of whether he stayed in management. The luxury apartment, the cars, the trips, all suddenly looked like liabilities instead of prizes. She started pressuring Marcus to find another job, but his reputation was now damaged. Grace continued teaching her classes, invisible and ignored, while watching the pressure build. Marcus started drinking more. His social media posts became less frequent, and the glamorous photos stopped. Sonia's smile in public looked strained. They'd built a life on borrowed money and borrowed status, and the foundation was cracking. One afternoon, Grace was leaving the building when she overheard Sonia and Marcus arguing in the parking garage. "Your ex-wife works here now? Are you serious? Get her fired." Sonia's voice was shrill with stress. Marcus's response was tired. "I can't. I'm barely holding on to my own job. The new owners are watching everything. I can't afford to make waves." Grace walked to her old car with Faith's car seat in the back, and Marcus saw her. For a moment, their eyes met, and she saw something flicker across his face. Not regret, but confusion. How was she surviving? Why wasn't she begging him for help? The teacher he'd discarded should have been desperate by now, but she seemed fine, even content. 3 months later, Mwangi Enterprises made its next move. They announced a major acquisition. The insurance company where Marcus had originally worked, the company he'd left to join Sonia's father's construction business. The acquisition made business news across Kenya. Grace read the articles while nursing Faith, smiling at how her father's empire was slowly encircling everyone who'd hurt her. Marcus heard the news at his office and felt the walls closing in. The new company was buying everything, expanding aggressively, and he was trapped in the middle with his reputation damaged and his options limited. He couldn't go back to insurance, couldn't move up in construction, and couldn't afford the lifestyle he'd built with Sonia. Sonia's father finally learned the full truth. The mysterious holding company that owned his business was controlled by a trust fund, but the beneficiary's name was sealed. He'd been trying for months to find out who'd saved his company only to take it over. His lawyers hit walls of offshore structures and privacy laws. Whoever owned his life's work had made sure to stay completely hidden. Grace received an invitation to Faith's one-year birthday from Maya, who'd planned a small party. "Just family," Maya said. "Nothing fancy. I know money is tight." Grace agreed, continuing to maintain the fiction of her financial struggle. She'd become expert at this double life, billionaire by day, struggling teacher by night. The acting was exhausting but necessary. Then Mr. Omondi called with interesting news. Marcus has applied for a loan, desperate apparently. He's listing assets that don't exist, inflating his income, committing fraud. The lender ran background checks and flagged it. They're considering criminal charges. What do you want to do? Grace thought of Faith sleeping peacefully. Let it proceed naturally. Don't interfere. Faith's first birthday party was modest but joyful, held at Grace's small apartment with Maya's family and a few teacher friends. Grace had baked the cake herself, decorated with balloons from the local shop. It was beautiful in its simplicity, filled with love rather than money. As she watched Faith smash cake everywhere, Grace felt more peace than she'd felt in the luxury life she'd lived with Marcus. No one from Marcus's side attended. He'd made it clear at the divorce that Faith wasn't his concern. Sonia had posted online that very day about not understanding women who baby-trap men, a clear dig at Grace that her friends screenshot and sent her. Grace deleted the messages without response. Engaging would ruin everything. That week, the loan fraud investigation became public. Marcus was called in for questioning by banking regulators. He hired a lawyer he couldn't afford, using credit cards already maxed out. Sonia's family tried to distance themselves, with her father suggesting Marcus had acted independently in any financial irregularities. The perfect marriage was showing cracks. Grace was teaching a class when she overheard executives discussing Marcus's situation. Desperate move, trying to get loans with fake collateral. He must be drowning in debt. They had no idea his ex-wife was in the room. No idea she was the one who ultimately controlled their jobs. She kept her face neutral, her teacher mask perfect. Then came the summons. Marcus and Sonia were being sued by creditors for unpaid debts. The luxury apartment would be seized, the cars repossessed. Everything they'd showed off on social media was being taken away piece by piece. And still, Grace maintained her cover. The humble teacher who'd moved on quietly while her ex-husband's life imploded spectacularly. Loving this story? Hit subscribe and share with someone who believes in karma. What happens when Marcus learns the truth? Comment your predictions. Marcus and Sonia moved into a modest rental apartment in a middle-class neighborhood. their fall from grace complete in public. Friends who'd celebrated their wedding now gossiped about their financial collapse. Sonia, who'd smiled so triumphantly at Grace's father's funeral, now worked retail to help pay bills. The woman who'd stolen a husband had gotten exactly what he was worth: debt and disgrace. Marcus lost his partnership at the construction company. The audit had revealed too many irregularities, and the new management had zero tolerance. He found work as a regular manager at a small firm, making less than he had before marrying Grace. Every month was a struggle to pay rent, buy food, and service the massive debts they'd accumulated trying to live like wealthy people. Grace continued teaching, her double life perfectly maintained. She'd moved to a slightly bigger apartment, nothing extravagant, just enough to suggest a teacher managing on her salary. Faith was thriving, a happy toddler who knew nothing of her mother's secrets or her father's rejection. Maya was the only family member who'd stood by Grace, though even she didn't know the full truth. Then Sonia got pregnant. Grace heard through mutual acquaintances that Marcus was panicking, trapped in a marriage that had lost its shine, now facing fatherhood he couldn't escape. The irony wasn't lost on Grace. He'd abandoned one pregnant wife for a mistress. And now that mistress was pregnant, and he was miserable. Karma worked in mysterious ways. At the construction company, Grace noticed new changes. The executive team was being restructured again, with most of Sonia's father's old guard being replaced by young, dynamic managers. The company was thriving under new ownership, more profitable than ever. Sonia's father was now just a name on old paperwork, his legacy absorbed into something bigger. 2 years after the divorce, Grace's life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Faith was a bright 2-year-old. Grace's teaching career was solid, and her secret empire continued growing. She'd added a property development in Mombasa and a tech startup in Kigali to her portfolio. 5 billion had become 6 billion through smart investments and her father's established business networks. Marcus, meanwhile, was drowning. Sonia had their baby, a son they named Michael, and the financial pressure intensified. Between 2 children and mounting debt, they fought constantly. Grace heard through the teacher gossip network that Sonia blamed Marcus for their situation, conveniently forgetting she'd been the mistress who'd encouraged him to leave his pregnant wife. One morning, Grace arrived at the construction company to teach and found chaos. The company was being absorbed into a larger conglomerate, with Mwangi Enterprises buying the last 30% of shares to complete a full acquisition. Sonia's father had sold his remaining stake, walking away with enough to pay his debts and retire quietly. The family business was gone. Marcus, now unemployed again as the company restructured, finally broke. He showed up at Grace's apartment unannounced, looking haggard and desperate. "I need help," he said simply. "Not for me. For Michael. For Faith's half-brother. I know I don't deserve anything, but the kids are innocent." Grace stood in her doorway, Faith playing behind her, looking at the man she'd once loved. "Why would I help you?" she asked calmly. "You abandoned Faith when she was in my womb. You called her your problem. You gave up all parental rights. Now you want help because you have a son you can't escape from?" Marcus's face crumbled. "I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But I'm begging you. I don't know where else to turn." Grace looked at Marcus standing in her doorway, broken and begging, and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just emptiness where love used to be. "I can't help you," she said simply. "I'm a teacher with a daughter to support. I have nothing to give you." She closed the door on his shocked face, listening to him stand there for minutes before finally walking away. The truth was, Grace could have paid all his debts with pocket change from her billions. But that wasn't the lesson. Marcus needed to understand consequences, to live with the choices he'd made when he'd calculated Grace's worth by her father's visible assets and found her lacking. He'd bet wrong, and now he'd pay the price of that bet forever. Maya visited that evening and noticed Grace seemed distracted. "You okay, sister? You've been distant lately." Grace hugged her sister, the only family she had left besides Faith. "I'm fine. Just thinking about Dad, wishing he'd met Faith." That was true. Daniel would have loved his granddaughter. Grace wished daily that he'd lived to see his empire secured for another generation. Then came the call that changed everything. Mr. Omondi phoned with urgent news. Grace, someone's investigating your father's estate. They've hired private investigators, filed court petitions claiming there's hidden assets. They're trying to break the will, arguing that you concealed wealth during the divorce. We need to prepare. This could expose everything. Grace felt her blood run cold. Who's filing this? But she already knew. Mr. Omondi confirmed it, Marcus. He's found a lawyer willing to work on contingency, someone who thinks there's money to be made. He's claiming that you lied about being poor during the divorce proceedings, that you're hiding a fortune. Grace, they're getting close to the truth. The legal papers arrived 3 days later. Marcus was suing for fraud in the divorce, claiming Grace had deliberately hidden assets and deceived him about her financial situation. His lawyer had pieced together enough clues to know something was wrong. How was a teacher affording daycare, surviving comfortably without support, never begging for help? They suspected hidden money but had no proof. Grace met with a team of lawyers Mr. Omondi assembled. We can fight this, keep the assets hidden, maintain the fiction. But if it goes to trial, if they subpoena records, the truth will come out. They'll discover you're not just wealthy but a billionaire. The scandal will be enormous. Grace listened carefully, thinking of Faith asleep at home, thinking of the empire her father had built. What if I don't hide anymore? She asked. The lawyers exchanged glances. What if I reveal everything? The 5 billion, the companies, all of it? What happens to Marcus's case? Her lead attorney smiled slowly. His fraud claim dies immediately. You can't defraud someone of assets they don't know exist. He divorced you thinking you were poor. The fact that you were secretly rich doesn't change that, and his demand for more money? Grace pressed. He gave up all rights to Faith, signed away any claims during the divorce. That's ironclad. He can't undo that now just because you turned out to be wealthy. The court will laugh him out of the room. But Grace, going public means everyone will know. Your life will change forever. Grace thought about it for exactly 1 day. Then she made her decision. Schedule a press conference. I want to control the narrative, and I want to do it in 2 weeks, giving me time to prepare Faith and Maya. I'm done hiding. My father built something remarkable, and I've grown it even more. It's time the world knew that the woman Marcus threw away was worth more than he could ever imagine. The press conference was held at the Fairmont Norfolk Hotel, a luxury venue in Nairobi. Grace wore a simple but elegant dress, held Faith on her hip, and faced cameras from every major media outlet in East Africa. My name is Grace Mwangi. I'm the daughter of Daniel Mwangi, and the sole heir to his business empire valued at over $6 billion. The room erupted with questions. Grace calmly explained her father's desire for her to have a normal childhood, his plan to reveal the truth when she was older, his untimely death. She explained how she'd learned of her inheritance only after her divorce was filed, how she'd chosen to keep it secret to protect herself and her daughter, how she'd spent 2 years quietly managing the empire while living as a teacher. My ex-husband divorced me while I was pregnant because he thought my father left nothing. He married his mistress, publicly humiliated me, and abandoned our daughter completely. He calculated my worth and found me lacking. Today, I'm revealing that his calculation was wrong by approximately $6 billion. The reporters went wild. Within hours, the story was international news. Sonia saw the press conference on television and screamed. Actually screamed. Neighbors called security, thinking someone was being murdered. She'd left a billionaire's husband for a man drowning in debt. Marcus sat in their tiny apartment watching Grace on screen. The teacher he dismissed now revealed as one of Africa's wealthiest women, and he realized the magnitude of his mistake. Grace ended the conference with one statement that would be quoted for years. To every woman told she's worthless, know your value isn't determined by who stays or leaves. It's determined by who you are and what you build. My father built an empire. I'm building a legacy. And the man who left me? He's building nothing but regrets. She walked away from the cameras, holding Faith, ready to live openly as the powerful woman she'd always been, finally free of secrets, lies, and the shadow of the man who'd betrayed her. Thank you for following Grace's journey. Hit subscribe. like, and share this story of justice and resilience. What lesson did you take from this? Comment below. Remember, never let anyone determine your worth.